Welcome to Table Bible Studies with Dan and Ben. These studies are posted every Thursday. Today we resume our study of John chapters 1 through 3. We're going to join Dennis and Benedicta as they continue their discussion of Jesus' first public miracle of transforming water to wine.
Then John makes a comment about this miracle.
Yeah.
And in those days, miracles were not usually called miracles. They were called signs.
Right.
Just like you put up a sign and it announces something, right? You're driving down the road, you see a big sign. Well, it says something, right? They're trying to get your attention to make some kind of a point or advertise something. Well, this was a sign. It says, this beginning of signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee.
Okay.
And so this little town has become famous for this wedding and this miracle.
Wow.
And it says he manifested his glory. In other words, he revealed he was something special. He was the Son of God. He was an amazing person like the world had never seen before. He manifested his glory. And it says his disciples believed in him. So this was more than just Jesus helping out at a wedding where they run out of some wine.
Yes.
This was Jesus revealing himself. Now, remember what he had said to his mother, it's not my time. Well,
my time has not come yet.
The Father revealed, Son, it is your time. And it was time for what? It was time for him to manifest his glory. It was time for him to begin to show people who he was. Now, keep in mind, he had gone through his 20s. A lot of people, by the time they get through their 20s, they've done a lot. They've worked at jobs. A lot of people have made good money, done a lot. In his 20s, we learn nothing at all about what he did. Our hint is they referred to him once as Jesus the carpenter. We think he was a carpenter. But in his 20s, he had not manifested his glory. At age 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, he had not manifested his glory. He was just a common guy. Everybody thought of him as just a common guy, a nice guy, a good guy, a devout man, but nothing more than that. But suddenly, this nice, devout, good man reveals himself to be something more than that.
Yes.
He manifests his glory. And the Bible says his disciples believed in him.
Yes.
Well, they must have believed in him to some degree already because they're following him, right? They're his disciples. They're his students.
Yes.
But their level of belief rose much higher.
Right.
It's like, this is more than I thought.
This
man is more than I thought he was.
Yes.
I mean, I knew he was good. I knew he was smart. I knew he was worth following. But whoa.
This is
I'm getting more than I bargained on.
Yeah.
So his disciples' level of faith rose. They believed in him. And then it says, after this, he went down to Capernaum. Now, Capernaum is also in Galilee.
Okay.
He, his mother, his brothers, his disciples. So, he's got an entourage by now.
Yeah.
He's got his family. He's got his mama. He's got his disciples. Now, they're in the home area of Galilee. They don't always follow him down to Jerusalem.
Right.
It says they did not stay there many days. So they were there for just a while. And then we find about the Passover and what happens there. Verse 13, the Passover of the Jews was at hand. Jesus went up to Jerusalem. So Jesus went to Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is, as we said, South Galilee.
Right.
South Israel. And his whole life was that, his whole ministry, I should say, was that way, going to Jerusalem, going south. We'd say going down south, but whenever we talk about going south in America, we always use down, going down to Florida or going down to Georgia, down to the south, going up to Michigan, up to Minnesota. But in those days, anytime you went to Jerusalem, it was always up.
Okay.
Because it was an elevated city, and it was the capital city, and it was the holy city. So you would never say he went down to Jerusalem. You'd say he went up to Jerusalem, even though he was going south.
Right.
Anyway, goes to Jerusalem at a Passover. Well, Passover was a time that observant Jews were to come to Jerusalem and worship and celebrate the deliverance of the Israelis from Egyptian captivity.
Okay.
So he goes to the temple, verse 14. He finds people who sell oxen and sheep and doves and the money changers doing business, and he makes a whip of cords and drives them out. And he dumps over the money. He turns over the tables. He is upset. Now, before we get into this event, we need to say that in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, we also read that he did this toward the end of his ministry. Right now, he's at the beginning of his ministry, so it looks like he did it twice. He cleansed the temple at the beginning, and he cleansed the temple at the end. This is the beginning. And he says to these people, take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise. Don't turn God's house into a store. Okay. So Jesus doesn't like it. And in another place, he says, you're making my Father's house a house of thieves, or a den of thieves.
Okay, I want to understand the level of sales they were making. Do you understand it? Because is it like they are doing, merchandise like a marketplace, everybody come and buy things, or they are doing bazaar?
No. What they're selling are animals to be sacrificed. Normally, if you're a farmer and you want to sacrifice a cow to the Lord, you're not going to drag your cow all the way from Galilee down to Jerusalem. So you would just go and buy a cow in Jerusalem, and there you would sacrifice the cow.
There is a spiritual significance in this.
Yeah.
Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice.
Right.
That is there, and then he has arrived.
Yeah.
So it's like letting people know, there is no more gonna be all these sacrifices.
Yeah.
Cleansing the temple and getting all these animals, they be like, stop. You're buying what you're gonna be sacrificing, knowing that he is going to be the only sacrifice that will be made and that will be, acceptable to God.
And not only that, but they were charging exorbitant prices. They had people over a barrel. It's like, we know you've come a long distance. There's no way you can drag your cow, your goat, whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll sell it here, which in a sense wouldn't have been bad. But number one, they were charging too much. They were ripping people off. And number two, they were doing it right on the temple grounds. They didn't need to be doing it in the temple.
The temple, yeah.
So he's upset about that. The Bible says the disciples remembered it was written, zeal for your house has eaten me up. So Jesus was consumed by zeal for the house of God. One thing you have to know to really understand Jesus is he was all about God. His whole life was centered on God. He never married. He never had a family. He never held a regular job. Once he started his ministry, he was a full-time minister. And God was his whole life. He read the scriptures, he quoted God, he preached sermons, he healed the sick. I mean, his whole life was all about God. Yes. And he could not stand people who were religious but were not serious about it, or they were hypocritical and they were living a double life. That just drove him crazy, because he was all about a holy life and living for God.
Yeah, I think he knew what his mission was, and he came for that. And being that, he had a short time to live, and he wanted to do everything quickly and cover up a whole lot of, so many dimensions of his ministry, and teach a whole lot of things, and they do all the miracles and cover so many areas before his time comes. And I think he kind of paid attention and stayed with the job, the ministry, and kind of made something meaningful out of it.
Right. Thanks for watching our study of the greatest book ever written, the Bible. In addition to these Bible studies with Ben and me, I also share what I call video devos, which are short teachings I give on various Bible topics. These teachings are normally, but not always, posted on Mondays. Be sure and click the subscribe button and then click that bell icon and choose Show All Notifications. That way you'll be notified every time we post a new video. And if you're struggling with diabetes, check out my other channel, which is called Beat Diabetes. God bless you, and see you again soon.